Hey, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Family by Design. Liz and I are talking about how to make your marriage outlast your children is one way you could say it. We kind of talk about that, but then just in general, really how to maintenance your marriage. And so we're actually doing this introduction together. Say hi, Liz.
Hey, so make sure that you share this on your social media because we want to get, this out. People need to hear it. And one way that you can do that is if you like any part of the screen, record it and share it to your socials.
It's a great idea.
And tag us in it. And then that just gets, marriage and family. We want to take back marriage and family.
Amen.
And so be blessed.
Amen. All right, so we're going to talk about how the fact that your marriage, this is a factual truth. It should outlast anything else. It should outlast your kids.
Correct.
And so what happens is that a lot of times people find themselves, especially when they become empty nesters, they find themselves like, I don't know you, you don't know me, what are we doing here? And the reason for that is that priorities get really mixed up. I mean, it is the number one reason. And because life is like busy. I mean, you and I are like everybody else in life, and we have all the things tons of stuff. And so it's a matter of priority.
Right.
We have to prioritize our marriage in order for it to be what it is.
That's right.
Otherwise, we will be like two people living in the same house and just going about doing what we're doing and losing track of it. And there's tons of things that are important. Raising kids are important. Let me start before I say that. Let me say this. A job is important, but it's not more important than your marriage.
Right.
Going to church is important, but it's not more important than your marriage. Now, you shouldn't take off Sundays or whatever your church time is with your family. It's coming from a pastor here. You shouldn't take that off and be like, well, I need to spend time with my wife. No, you need to go to church too. Don't be a knucklehead.
And actually, she would like it if you spent time with her, next to her, worshiping with her. That's pretty awesome.
This is a huge problem in the church, a huge problem. And so we pray for those women and the husbands and stuff, but men need to lead and all that, yeah.
Right.
So, and then so you could go down a list of things they're all important. Mm-hmm. Next to relationship with Jesus, your marriage relationship is the most important thing. And what happens is that people, they oftentimes don't prioritize a relationship with Jesus, but then they don't prioritize a relationship with their spouse. That marriage in the home becomes if it works out, we'll go on a date. No. Going on dates is not an optional. Romance your spouse. Take time and invest into them.
Right.
Take time and go on walks. Do it. If you're not doing those things.
Or sit on the porch if you don't like to go walk.
Whatever. You have to spend time. Whatever your time looks like.
Right.
I'm throwing out things that we like to do.
Right.
You do need to go on date nights. I don't care who you are. If you don't go on date nights, you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you, you're wrong.
Right now, pause this, schedule your date night. Like, seriously.
They're not going to pause this, but they will schedule the date night.
Yes.
This is too good. They're not going to pause it. They can't wait. But seriously, though, the marriage gets neglected. And if it's not maintenance right, then it's going to be broken down.
Right.
And you're going to have a bigger problem in years to come. Because it's like sometimes people, they muddle through seasons. And we're not supposed to muddle through seasons. We're supposed to enjoy the season that we're in.
Right.
And part of the enjoyment of that season is having, your spouse be there with you. Now, there could be people listening to this that like your spouse isn't there, but you're there. You just continue to pray for them. We have episodes where we talked about, praying for your spouse and all that. You go back and listen to those. But, pray for them, continue to believe God for them. And so we have lots of grace for where you're at. But for a lot of people that are listening to this, that you do have a good marriage, you need to make time for each other. There is obviously things come up week to week. You make sacrifices, you rearrange. Right. But if you have to cancel your date night, you reschedule your date night. If you can't go on the walk or sit on the front porch or do whatever it is you do to connect, if something gets interrupted, you reschedule that.
Right.
Don't make it pretend. If you were going to go to the doctor and it was an important thing you needed to go, you wouldn't just be like, you know what, forget it. Something came up, we had to cancel the appointment. I'm not going to reschedule it. No, you would reschedule it because your body's important to you. Your health is important.
Right.
But your marriage is equally or more important than your body. You need to make sure and take time to do the proper maintenance on your marriage. If you don't, you're going to find yourself getting to a point to where it won't outlast your children because you've invested all this time into your kids and into, your job, your career, and then it
at the
does
expense of
your marriage.
Of your
And your
marriage.
marriage should be the most powerful, potent, on fire thing. And you should be more in love and passionate with one another by the time you get old than you were whenever you first got married. Because when people first get married, they don't know anything. It's all about hormones and for the guy, it's all about that, and then for the woman, it's all about
I got married and it's so awesome.
and then you live a little bit, and you're like, okay, we both suck, and we don't really know what we're doing. So okay, let's figure some things out. But if you don't do that, then your marriage will begin to diminish. But if you will invest yourself into your covenant that you have with your spouse, you can go from being 20 and being in love, la la la, but then you get older and you find out what real passion is about.
Right.
And it carries over into every part of your life, every part of your married life. It's the way it's supposed to be.
It is. So let's talk about maintenance a little bit. What maintenance looks like, because you would have a regular checkup on your vehicle if you want it. If you want, vehicle maintenance to you is super important because you want to get the longest life out of that car. So you're going to do the oil changes. You're going to do the tire rotations. You're going to, if the check engine light comes on, you're going to go and take it to the shop so that it can get taken care of. Mm-hmm. You don't leave it to just be oh, it'll be fine. You're not going to be I don't have any oil.
Some people might do that with their cars. They need to maintenance their marriages better than their cars.
Right. But most of the time, because we need vehicles to get us to places or whatever, we're paying. It's not only that you're going to get it maintenance, but you're also paying attention. We talked about this. I don't know if it was on a podcast or something, but when something doesn't sound right in the car and it bothers you, and you're we have to get this worked on. So you're even paying attention to the slightest sound of something not going right. And so what a properly maintained car sounds like and looks like.
Yeah.
So knowing what a proper maintained marriage sounds and looks like is important. So to me, this would be looking at other people who are further along in life than you, who have very good fruit. Mm-hmm. And going to them, scheduling time to say, can we have a conversation? Can we pick your brain? Can we get some wisdom from you on what good marriage?
If you indeed know they have a healthy marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll know because
not just being older.
Fruit.
There's fruit there.
They're bearing really good fruit. They're bearing fruit.
What's fruit in a marriage? What is that? Just so people will know.
Sure, I would say passion. You see good communication. You see healthy relationships. You see just people who really love each other.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that list?
No, I think that's good. I think communication is probably the single biggest one.
Right.
If you find people that communicate very well, mm-hmm. that is a huge sign of a healthy marriage, because communication is a bedrock for any relationship, but especially marriage. And if you can communicate well, then you can work on anything. You can fix anything because you can communicate about whatever the problem is. When you find somebody that can't communicate, it might indicate that they don't have a real healthy marriage. So that would be to me the sure sign that I would want to look for if I was going to go to somebody to get some advice.
And then just really strong, healthy relationships, because if they have good, strong, healthy relationships even outside of their marriage, then they probably have a good, strong, healthy relationship inside
overall,
of marriage, because they, relationships are valuable, and they know that marriage relationship is the most valuable outside of relationship with the Lord.
Yeah, and we were with just somebody last night, and we're just talking about the health of a marriage and what makes marriage healthy. And I said, well, are you communicating? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, do you have any plans to withhold from each other? And they said, no. I said, you got a good marriage then. I mean, really. I mean, if
Right.
you just if they're on a very basic level, that if you're still coming together, physically, and you plan to continue to do that, and you're communicating. Listen, every married couple has
Things that you go
stuff.
through.
Yeah, I mean, we have stuff to where I'm like, you know what? I really wish you wouldn't have done that. Well, I don't. I wish you wouldn't have done that.
And I do not appreciate that.
We have those conversations.
We do.
We do.
We don't have
but,
like crazy fights, but we do have
No.
sometimes intense fellowship.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we always navigate everything the correct
Right.
way, but we navigate it. We
That's
at least
right.
get there. And if you can't communicate or whatever, then you're not going to be able to maintenance your marriage right.
So,
And
so communication is super
to me, it's the foundation.
important.
Yeah, if you
have to
can't
be
even talk
able-
to each other, you can't get anywhere.
Right. And we're not just talking like superficial, oh, how are you? It's like really even tough conversations,
Yeah.
deep conversations, important conversations, tough conversations, being willing to communicate
Yeah,
on every level.
yeah.
Is very valuable. Okay, so what else would you say is important in maintenance? Like, I know we've listed like date nights and now communication, getting wisdom from other people who have healthy relationships. What if you're having a hard time because you haven't maintained your marriage and you are having a hard time even communicating because there's maybe
If somebody
hurts
yeah.
that are there that, or maybe unforgiveness, and like you can choose to forgive, especially your spouse, but you can't make them forgive you.
Right.
And so how do you navigate that in a marriage?
Yeah.
If you want to continue to move
So
forward.
I would say if you've not done, quote, maintenance on your marriage in a pretty good while, then you might need to go and have, someone help you navigate through that. Because the problem is that, it's kind of like, if you're using the analogy of a car, if you haven't done maintenance on your car and you've been driving it for 5 years, you're going to have a lot of problems with that car. You're going to have a lot of problems.
Problems that you
are going to
didn't
need
even know.
Some things you don't even know that are there.
Right.
You're going to need some professional help. So it's the same thing with the marriage. If you haven't been maintaining your marriage properly, it's maybe because you have never thought about doing that or you don't know how to do that, but you're going to need some professional help. Most likely. You're not going to be, because if you already knew how to do that, you would have already been doing it.
Right.
And so because you've allowed things to collect up, you're going to need your tires rotated, you're going to need an oil change, you're going to need a transmission flush, you're going to need an air filter change, you're going to need a spark, you're going to need to have a tune-up, have your spark plugs changed.
You might need some.
And you're probably going to have some other things going on in there that you can't fix in and of yourself, right? So anyways, using that analogy going back, you're going to have a lot of problems in your marriage if you have not been doing this, because things build up. We pick up things in life. We have issues. We have problems. We have heart things. We have fears. We have concerns. And some of that could just be in and of ourselves, but then some of it could be between each other. And things just, I don't care how spiritual you are, and how much you love Jesus, if you have not been working through things together, there's problems there. Even if they're undetected, there's problems there.
Right.
And
So you're saying that it is okay to go seek help.
Oh, absolutely.
I think sometimes people don't think that it's okay to, in a marriage, to go seek help at whatever stage that you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's very healthy to, on a regular basis, get wisdom from other people.
Sure.
Have, just sit down, make sure that there isn't things that are unchecked, because that would be, you would go take your car to just get a checkup. You would, whatever. Checkups are good. And if we haven't learned how to do that in and of ourselves, then how can we do it together?
Yeah.
So it's okay. I think people just need to know that. It's okay to go get help.
Yeah.
I
mean, what's your marriage worth? Is it worth your pride? A lot of times people don't think they can get help, but they really just don't want to. They don't want to go and say, I need help.
Right.
Well, who cares about your pride? go get help. You care about your marriage, go get help. Because if you don't, and as we started this conversation out, it won't outlast your kids. You'll find yourself, it may not even get to the point of where your kids, you being an empty nester and you guys are, your marriage won't last because it'll feel like there's nothing there. There's a couple different kinds of marriages that end. One is where people just fight like cats and dogs. And the other one is they just don't feel anything for each other anymore.
Right. It's
And
because we felt so much bad things that we become...
Or nothingness, yeah.
Yeah, we become numb.
Yeah,
and then
we just think, oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing there because you didn't put anything there. Marriage requires work. We have a great marriage and we genuinely love each other. But I guarantee you, if you didn't pursue me and I didn't pursue you and we didn't spend time in conversation, I spend way more time with you than anybody else besides the Lord, and the same for you. Mm-hmm. We spend more time with each other than we do anybody else. And I spend more time with you than I do with our kids. And you know what? Sometimes we feel like, should we leave our kids? And then, at home or whatever, should we really go on? And sometimes we'll say, no, we need to spend time with them. But most of the time we'll be like, leave them puppies at home. They need to know that mom and dad are out having a good time enjoying each other. It's a good example for them to see that we really connect and all that.
Right. Yeah. So a couple other good things that I think are good to mention is that life is so tough sometimes that we need to give ourselves permission to go have fun. Mm-hmm. To go have fun, especially together. Do something. Sometimes, it's good to have communication and work through hard things and la 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 la. But sometimes it's okay to just throw all
that's part of the recipe.
And go have fun.
Yeah.
Go have fun.
We know how to have fun.
We do have fun.
We had a date night that it was a stay-at-home date night. And what we did, we played Catan. Which is our favorite board game. That's what we did. We played Catan. We turned on some love songs. We did. This is true. We do this. I'm actually the one that does it. I'm more romantic than you are.
You are.
I really am. And I've had to stick with it because a few times you're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to be romantic.
I've mocked you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had to work through some things.
Did you?
It kind of cut me. But it did.
I'm sorry.
It did.
I apologize.
So,
I thank you for enduring.
But I did. We turn on some love songs. And, I actually think there could be some people anointed to write love songs. I don't know. But whatever, we turned on some love songs and we played Catan. Looked into each other's eyes.
Laughed.
We made some baked oatmeal for dinner.
We did.
It was great.
It was great. It was a good
so
night.
you have to learn how to have fun. That's part of your maintenance.
But then also, I think another thing too is laugh together.
Which is part of having fun. But
it is. But sometimes you won't laugh.
You could have fun, but not be having fun while you're doing something fun.
Right. Yeah. Right. But pure just enjoyment and laughter. Laughter is so good. Sometimes we'll put on funny stuff just so we can laugh. And sometimes you'll just tell jokes and they're so terrible that it just makes me laugh. So I'm laughing at you. So I appreciate that. If you could see him, he's actually kind of giving me a still face, which causes me to want to not engage. It's still a still face. Can you show some expression?
It'd be the last time you make fun of my jokes.
Why?
This conversation is over.
It makes me laugh. Okay. And eventually it makes you laugh, too.
Were you a bully when you were a child?
I think I might have been.
I mean, you're willing to laugh at my expense just because it makes you happy? It sounds like something a bully would do. Okay, on next week's episode, we're going to be talking about bullying in a marriage.
I'm such a bully. Oh my gosh. You feel so
Okay.
Good. Moving on.
The anointing is lifted.
So, have fun.
Manage your marriage. If you want it to last, manage your marriage.
Manage it. Yeah. And if you need help, get help.
Not just manage it, it's maintenance it.
Yes.
It's both.
Which maintenance means... You keep doing it.
Yeah,
you don't ever stop.
You don't ever stop. Yeah. Because then, as soon as you stop, let's use the car analogy, as soon as you stop driving your car, what's the point of having it?
That's true, because it's just costly.
You're supposed to enjoy your marriage.
Right.
But when you move forward together, you're going to have a little bit of road damage, and you need to go take care of that.
Road damage?
Yeah. it needs maintenance. I mean, just miles.
Miles.
I mean, road
life.
damage on your tires. This analogy needs to stop.
Yeah.
We've taken it as far as it can go.
Okay.
All right. Be blessed.
So maintenance your marriage and watch how it will cause you to outlast, your children. I guess that's right. That's what we said.
The anointing is lifted. I said this 2 minutes ago. It's lifted. It's done.
Okay.
We've expired this.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. Share with your friends and on your socials. For more information about Ward Ministries, check out wardmen.org. If this podcast is encouraging you on your marriage and family, we want to hear about it. Email us at info@wardmen.org and make sure you keep your eye out weekly for the latest podcast on marriage and family.